Hello there, you guys, and welcome back to this video where we talk about intonation and working on, today we're going to be talking about your bat ears, your ability to hear little teeny tiny micro frequencies so that you can adjust, because you might be able to hear that you're in tune, right? But to what degree of in tuneness are you? And so we're going to be working on that, because when we play in an ensemble, we need to be able to hear subtleties in the pitch and make those adjustments, whether we notice that we're sharp or we're flat, so that we're in tune together. So as an idea, let's say that as an ensemble, you're working on a piece that's in the key of G. Make the key of G your focus of study for the next period of time. It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, whatever it is. But I would give yourself a nice period of time to work on it. At least, I would go for a month because then you actually really do give your ear muscles time to practice hearing. It might not occur right away, your ability to detect these teeny tiny frequencies. So step one is just simply write out your G scale and put in the scale degrees too, because that's always nice to know. Every scale has 7 distinct notes, and they each have their own little function in the scale and music theory moment, but just have this on your music stand while you do this practice. So you would just put your little piece of paper or your sticky note on your music stand, you have that up, have your tuner handy. In video 1, we learned how to we remembered how to precisely tune. So have your tuner nearby, make sure that your open strings are in tune. You can also put that on your music stand. And then it would be great for you to use a speaker to put a drone through. And I will link the drone that I'm using. There's tons of drones that are interesting on YouTube that you can use. So I'll link the one that I put through my speaker today for this little video. And what you would do is you would potentially, if you break it up into a month, you could spend the first week just really getting to know the first 3 scale degrees, so tuning those against the drone. The week 2, you could get to know scale degrees 3, 4, 5, work with those. And then in week 3, you could do 5, 6, 7, and you'll probably want to do 1 as well. 5, 6, 7, 1, because 7 really wants to resolve to 1. You could make that your practice for week 3, and then week 4, you put it all together and see if you can really tune against this drone well. So you might not know what it is that I'm talking about, so let me just demo. I'm going to put on a drone on the note G, and the reason why it's a drone on the note G is because G is the first scale degree, and that's where we're going to be starting. All of these notes, all these 7 notes, they relate against the first note. They're in relationship to the first note. So the first note is our drone, so here's a G. And actually, incidentally, this is a really ancient way of tuning, using a pitch and then tuning against it. So I'm going to do the first 3 scale degrees. I'm going to make it a little out of tune. So the third scale degree, that's where it blends most beautifully with the drone, but your tuner might tell you that that's in tune, for example. But if you listen to it against the drone, does it sound good? Or when you practice your little tuning time with your drone, have your tuner nearby so that your tuner can confirm that you're in tune, that the pitches that you're playing are in tune. But then you also need to consider how your intonation blends with this other pitch. And there's certain scale degrees that need to be kind of tweaked a little bit in order to blend with the drone, like the third scale degree. You see on the tuner here, the tuner has those little, you see where it says plus and minus 20 cents? And actually there's a little triangle on either side. Right here, triangle here, triangle here. These are actually helpful with tuning the third scale degree or the third in a chord. And so you might kind of notice when you're tuning the third scale degree in this practice, you're in tune when you're slightly flat. So see, kind of notice where that in tuneness is with your tuner. So you can see it's really detailed, and so you would only spend maybe a few minutes in your warm-up to just kind of devote to this. But actually it's great to do in your warm-up because then it gets your ears really used to listening carefully, and your ears will be warmed up and all fired up for the rest of your practice. And so if you do just a couple minutes of this kind of work, just like this. This is just the first 3 scale degrees, for example. Quietly, remember we talked about quiet tuning last video? Your ears will be so much better by the end of the month than they were when you first started. And this is really important when you're playing in an ensemble, being able to hear in tuneness as an ensemble. So don't feel that you necessarily play out of tune. You might play out of tune. We all play out of tune. But it's not just you, it's the ensemble's intonation together. So everybody is listening to themselves, but also to the group's intonation and being able to match it. All right. And incidentally, if you play the bass, you really have to watch your pitch, because like we talked about in the first video, the bass pitch is the foundation of this musical structure that we're playing. And so if your bass notes are really sharp or flat or not really in tune, it just makes everything else sound worse. And it makes everyone else's job a lot harder. So as the lowest pitched instrument, you're carrying everyone. So please be really extra diligent if you play a bass instrument. So your colleagues will thank you and love you so much. So with that, you guys, hopefully this will provide you some interesting practice tips for your practice. And today we just demonstrated the first 3 scale degrees, but of course there's 7. So for example, the next week you could just work on 3, 4, 5, and then the next week you could do 5, 6, 7, and 1, and just kind of get to know those ones. At the end of the month, play through your scale very slowly and carefully, and just devote a few minutes of your practice every day to this. All right, you guys, if you have suggestions, please comment below. Any thoughts would be lovely to hear from you. So take care. Bye.